Anthropos in Greek means man and logos means the word. So it's the word about man. It's a study about man. So this is actually the second session on anthropology. I don't know how many of you were here during the first session. Is there anybody who was not here for the first session? You are one, two, couple of people there. Yeah, I'll have a recap on it. Yes. As I said, anthropology is a study on man. You know, man is the only creation who will make himself the subject and the object of the study. You never see any animal studying about itself. I don't know even that study about the grass, the cow study about the grass. But definitely the cow never has come up with a study on cow. Man makes himself the object and he is the subject of the study. So that's an amazing piece of truth that tells us that man is a unique creation. Man has the capacity to study himself. In anthropology, we usually include the creation, the probation, the fall, and then the consequences of the fall. But seldom we come into salvation. Salvation is another subject altogether, soteriology. Because man does not do anything for his own salvation, it is all basically the work of God. So it cannot be included in anthropology. Hamartiology is another area, the doctrine of sin. Usually it is coupled with anthropology because after fall man has become a sinner. So if you keep sin away, there is not very much you can study about himself, you know. So the hamartiology is usually studied along with man, though some theologians will have hamartiology, the doctrine of sin, separate. In such cases, then anthropology will be restricted to the creation and the fall, the probation, the fall, and some of the consequences of the fall. But we plan to include hamartiology, the doctrine of sin, also along with anthropology. So actually anthropology is primarily concerned about sin because the period of sinlessness or innocency, as some will call it, it was comparatively very brief. Nobody knows how long it lasted. You know, if we keep away sin from anthropology, then very little is there for us to study. So anthropology, you know, includes hamartiology, and a good part of our study will be on hamartiology. The Westminster Confession, that is basically the confession of the Presbyterian Church, and it says, God created man, male and female, with reasonable and immortal souls. That's a very pithy statement, very good statement. God created man, male and female, with reasonable and immortal soul. Reasonable means not the way we say, yeah, that's a reasonable thing. No, reasonable means the ability to reason, rational, you know, with a rational and immortal soul, you know. So theology, some of the words will have its own meaning. So God created man, male and female. That means the word man is not used, it's used for the kind, the species, not as a proper noun, but as a species noun. So God created man, male and female. Both were included in it. Man was created bisexual, and then God by surgery removed from man the woman. I don't mean to say that he divided the whole man, into half and then one half was made female. No. What we call the female was included in creation in the man, so that when God says in the beginning man, man, he meant both, the man and the woman. When we say man is a sinner, we don't say that women are not sinners. We mean that man and woman. So the word man is used generically, but the word woman is never used generically. If we say women are beautiful, we don't mean men are beautiful. We only apply that to the female part. So the word man has a generic or a species aspect. Genesis 1:27 supports the first part of the statement of the Westminster Confession that God created man and female. What does 1:27 says? Yeah, it's good for you to read that. Genesis 1:27.
So God created mankind in His own image. In the image of God He created them. Male and female He created.
So that particular version, whichever it is, it says mankind. But that's really not translation, that is interpretation, because that's what it means. But the word is simply anthropos, and that word can be translated only as man, though it means mankind, So, and then we read that male and female He created them. So, when God created mankind or man, He was talking about the species. But then verse 26 talks about the second part of what we said. God created man a reasonable and immortal soul. 1:26.
And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness.
Yes.
And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth.
Yeah, the first part of the statement, let us make man in our own image, even in our likeness. So different from all the other creations God made, man alone is made in the likeness or in the image of God. So if we know something about God, we know God is an intelligent being. God is a personal being. He has personality. He is a spiritual being. So that image communicates that man is also created in that unique sense. And not in the same extent or the quantity, but the quality wise is the same. Personality, same, intelligence, reason, will, and all those things that God contains, man had in the miniature form. Because an image could never be the same as the original. You stand in the mirror and you see your image. That image is different from you, but it has resemblance very close to you. But you can never say that image is me. You can say that image is of me. So man is never God, but man is created from God or by God. So there are many things that are similar. God is a person, God created man a person. God is spirit, and God created man with spirit. God is all knowing, man has knowledge. God is all powerful, man has power. All that goes with it. So there are many things that goes with it. So the Westminster Confession is very right when it says God created man male and female, because verse 27 says it. And with reasonable and immortal souls, because God is immortal and God is a rational being. So that's the way God created man. But then Genesis 2:7 throws more light into man. More light. There we read, God breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul, Actually, the word souls is plural there. Man became living soul. So it says the spirit and the soul, both aspects are included in it. The breathing has brought not two separate things, but one thing that has a plural aspect in it. Yes. So it became a living soul. The body was made of earth and the spirit from God. For this reason, we read in Ecclesiastes 12:7, it's talking about the death of man, but an interesting statement. Then shall the dust return to the earth, because the body was taken from the earth, and the spirit shall return to God who gave it. So man's body was made from the earth, and God breathed into man the living soul, the breath of life. So that returns to God. So at death there is a decomposition of the two essential parts of man. Both return to its original, source. Yes. So God said to man, thou art soil and you shall return to soil. In Hindi for burial, what is the word? Mitti dena. That's the mitti dena, mitti de diya. Returned to, gave it back to the earth. So the body belongs to. And amazingly, scientists say that our body contains basically every element the earth contains, all the iron and magnesium and what else not there, and zinc and everything is there in our body because it's taken from the earth. And our spirit, soul, contains everything that is contained, from the source. It has immortality, the eternality. It had the value system, the morality, the God consciousness, this ability to worship, and all those things that goes with the spirit, it contains. So it's an amazing, man is a very beautiful, creation, very beautiful creation. In Matthew 10:28, our Lord told the disciples that you be not afraid about human beings who can only kill your body, but fear God who can destroy both, in eternal hell. So don't be afraid of man. But even though the Lord said it, we are more afraid of men and least afraid of God. At least looking around the human beings, they are more afraid of human beings, fellow human beings, because they got guns and daggers. They think that God doesn't have guns and daggers. The fact is, he doesn't need guns and daggers. But man forgets that. So man was created bisexual. Said that he created the male and female. That means the idea of man is incomplete without man and woman. That's why the Lord said it is not good for man to be alone. Even though it's bisexual, that's not the good state. The two has to be separated and united again. After separation, the Lord said, for this reason they shall be one, because they were one before, but now they have independent existence. Before they didn't have the independent existence, So now God gave man and woman independent existence, but yet they are complementary. So God said they are not two, but they shall be one, a big one, of course, Yes. It's amazing and beautiful, right? Yes. Poet Milton said, two great successes animate the world. How can you say it any more nicely? Milton in Paradise Lost said the two great successes animate the world, the whole world. Angels were created sexless. They were all created by, I believe, the breath of God, by commanding, let the angels come into existence. And every one of them independently, And they were all, some say they were neuter, I don't know. I tend to think that they are all male. Because we don't call angels it, but it's usually he, The same way with God, we never call God it or she. It's always he loves us, For God so loved the world, he gave us, not it gave us or she gave us, Of course, now many feel that that's an injustice. So they have she Bible and it Bible. I don't know whether that will do any any fairness to God, Yes. He does not make any difference as long as there is not a she. All the problems of he comes when the she is there. So there is no female God. So, that's not a problem. God is a person. That's mainly what communicates, So angels don't have children ever born, Yes. They don't have maternity hospitals. Not having children avoid some troubles, but I don't know whether they are troubles or blessings. Some look as troubles, some look as blessings, I consider as a blessing, but then it's more important how my wife feels about it than how I feel, because I get the end result, I don't go through all the means. So that only the women go through. Yes. But it's true that, the body of man is of a different nature and the substance is a different nature, because body is made from matter and soul is made from non-material, because God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul, nephesh, haya, a breath or soul of life. So according to Genesis 2:7, man is composed of a material part resulting from the vivification or the enlivening or the animation of the dust of the ground by the creative energy of God. And man has an immaterial part resulting from the spiration or the inbreathing of God. Amazing, isn't it? We must assume that the Creator first enlivened the inorganic matter into a body and then created a rational spirit, which he infused into the body. What we have in Genesis 2:7 is a summary statement of the creation. This fact is reiterated in other parts of the scripture like Ecclesiastes 12:7, Luke 23:46, Acts 7:50, Genesis 49:33, Job 10:18, Job 11:20, Jeremiah 15:9. We are not going to go into those verses because we already did in the first class. But all those passages tell us that body and soul spirit are separate entities with separate destinations. On death, the body goes back to the earth and the spirit goes back to God, and then resurrection, the two come together, and for all eternity we will live together. That's amazing. But the rest of the biological life on the earth was created by a word. Genesis 1:21, 1:24 all tells us that God said, let the birds bring after it, and then it automatically, immediately they all came in. But for man alone, God said, let us make man in our image. As someone said, God's hand was soiled with dirt only when he made man. When he made all the animals, there was no dirt on his hand. And it is even more marvelous that God's hand became bloody when he wanted to save man. The soiled hand, yes, the dirt was washed away by the blood of the Creator, and our sin too was washed away. So the question people ask, how was man created? How was man created? There are three theories put forward by different people, depends upon what they believe. The first theory is called the pre-existence of man. The pre-existence of man. According to the pre-existence theory, all human soul or spirit existed before Genesis 1. God at some point in the past created multitudes of human souls. This happened much before Adam was created. Each human soul existed in an anti-mundane state and is united with a human body which is created by simple generation. So the theory is that, God just created the first body and then it began by generation. And these spirits that he created sometimes past, nobody knows when. And there are different theories about that too. And then one by one these souls will come and enter in the body that is, generated. So there is a human being. Interestingly, Plato, the great Greek philosopher, believed this theory. He speculated that human souls have intuitive knowledge of a pre-existent state. That's what he says. Human souls have this knowledge. Do you ever feel that your soul was existing before? So at least Plato's theory does not apply here. I never felt. Here. I never felt. Some people say that, they felt that. That's only when you feel your soul is older than your body. I often felt the other way, that my body is a little older than my soul because of the different sicknesses and, other things, yes. But there are sometimes I feel that maybe, the memory is part of the body or part of the soul. Is it in the follicles that you have in your brain where all the informations are stored? Is that where? Or only informations are stored there? It's a soul that takes it out and use it. I don't know. It's very interesting. Don't ask, because you will lose a little bit of your humanity if you think too much. You will end up in a mental hospital. There people will treat you differently. So don't think too much. Man is a thinking person. One of the philosophers said, I think therefore I am. I think therefore I am. Some will say, I eat therefore I am. And sometimes that is true too, But I think therefore I am. Some said, I feel therefore I am. It all depends upon what school of thought you belong to, I say I think because I am. I think because I am. I feel because I am. And I eat because I am. Yes. To say the other way around is, it's an insult on the dignity of humanity. Yes. Because the person who for some reason is unconscious, will you say that he is not because he is not thinking now? Or he is not because he is not eating lunch now? No, I can't say that. So that doesn't make any sense, One of the earlier Christian scholars, Origen, he also espoused this Platonian theory, but he was never successful to establish it. Müller, a German theologian, tried to give this theory some credibility in a modified form. He did not teach an ante-temporal state of the soul, but a supra-temporal state of the soul. He taught that soul existed and the origin of sin occurred. He said the soul existed always. It never came into being. It is only the sin that came into being, Well, if you wanted to say that the soul existed in God, I still will have an argument with you, because it did not have independent existence as my soul. No. My soul never existed in God, in eternity. So, people teach many, many theories. The fall of man, according to Müller, was not in a time before time. That is, sometimes after time began. That's what time before time means. Sometimes after time began. But is timeless. Immanuel Kant also believed very similarly. He viewed sin always existing in space and time. Miller's theory is that of pre-existence. The ego of man is pre-existent though the body is propagated. Well, these are all wrong theories. The pre-existence theory confines the human species only to the body. That's the sad part. From parents only the body is given. Because the soul is pre-existing, parents have nothing to do with. But then the question is, how come I think like my father or mother? The same children of the same parents have artistic ability. The Ravivarma family in Mavelikara, they are known great painters of India. Many painters have come from that family. How come that? That's not a bodily feature, painting. It's of the inner man. So to say that God created some similar kind of spirit somewhere in the eternity past, and then only those spirits were allowed to enter into the body that these great artists have propagated, well, that's, you will not have too many buyers for it. You can try to sell it. Plato was not successful. Origen was not successful. And Immanuel Kant also, These are very great thinkers, Immanuel Kant was a great thinker, But Kant one day went to a park. As soon as the park opened in the 7 o'clock in the morning, he got inside the park and sat on a bench under the tree. And he sat there without moving, just sat there like that. And then 7 o'clock, the time came for the gates to be locked, and Kant was still sitting there. So the watchman went over there and said, "Sir, you have been sitting here from 7 o'clock in the morning. Who are you?" So he said, "That's what I have been thinking all day." Who am I? Well, sometimes it takes many days to find out who you are. For somebody like us, common people, it doesn't take that long. We find it out very, very fast, Yes, thank God. Yeah, sometimes these people are crazy. Of course, whatever they say is very intelligent because nobody else understands it. That's when intelligence thinks, If somebody else understands, then it's not intelligent. You say, hey, an ordinary person like me, I can understand it. So say something that nobody understands. Oh, so you are very intelligent. Yeah. The pre-existence theory confines the human species only to the body. The human body belongs to a common species, but the soul is purely individualistic. Man's soul is exactly like that of the angels, individually made sometimes in eternity past. The spirit was created prior to the 6th day. Human spirit has no ancestors. Well, we just don't accept that. We just don't accept that. The second theory is called creationism. Creationism. You know what that means? It's not the evolution creation, no, don't, if you think, it has nothing to do with evolution creation. Creationism is a theory that says the body comes from parents. For every body that is born, God creates a new spirit and put in it. So the spirit is not eternal. The spirit is created right then. When God realizes that, your wife is now conceived, so, God says, so I needed to create a spirit for this particular, body that is conceived in the womb. So God creates a new spirit and then put in it. And when put it, that depends upon what, theory you hold. Some say that immediately after the conception of the body, the spirit is given. Some say no. Only when the body has independent existence. If for any reason the mother delivers, like 8th month or even 7th month, it won't survive itself. It needs to be kept in an incubator. When it can breathe itself and all that, that's the point they say that a spirit is put in it. Some say no, only after delivery, when the first baby cries, the spirit enter in, As soon as the baby cries, the new spirit goes in. Some say even not there, no, when the Mahabodhisa, those denominations which has the infant baptism, on the 8th day, when the infant baptism water is poured on the baby, infused, the spirit comes in. But there are different theories. So somebody who believes that it's given immediately on conception, abortion is a sin because you are destroying a person. But somebody who believes that only in the 9th month, destroying that body is not a sin because you are only destroying mass without soul, And somebody who believes only when infant baptism, even killing the baby before infant baptism is not a sin because you are only killing like a rabbit or like anything else, it's physical body, that sort of. So that is the creationism. Creationism denies the fact that human souls had existence in Adam or in any other, human parent. Creationist holds that God on the 6th day created 2 human individuals, one male and one female, and in them also created the specific physical nature from which the bodies of all the subsequent individuals were procreated. However, the soul in each instance being a new soul created ex nihilo and infused into this propagated body. So that doctrine is called creationism, This view was held by Aristotle. If you know who is Aristotle, everybody knows. The Greek philosopher. Wasn't Aristotle the teacher of Alexander the Great? Yes, he was. And it was also embraced by great, and Pelagius, of course, not a man of God, Bellarmine, etc. This theory gained popularity in the Middle Ages. However, during the Reformation period, it was basically rejected. There are very few people today who believes in creationism. There are some, but not very much. Not very much. The third theory, I'm just giving, the summary only, is called traducianism. 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 This is the view, by the way, almost all conservative evangelicals, Reformed faith today believes. Traducianism is the view that the idea of human species applies both to the body and the soul spirit. The idea of species applies both to the body and to the soul spirit. For the creationists, apply only to the body. To those who believed in this spirit existed, and in time, they all believe that species applies only to the body. Nothing to do with the spirit. But traducianism believes both body and the soul spirit, are traduciated by the parents into the children. Upon the 6th day, God created 2 human individuals, a male and a female, and in them also created the specific psychico-physical nature from which all the subsequent individuals of the human family are procreated, both psychically and physically. That's what traducianism is. God created, Adam and Eve, and in them God has deposited the whole human species, their body and spirit. So I got my body and my soul spirit from my parents. Both my body characters and my moral characters, my intellectual characters and all that. Even my temperament, and everything that comes from. Of course, when I am born again, the Holy Spirit comes and transforms many of those things. My short-temperedness, Holy Spirit, makes it a man of long suffering. Yes, or a man of meekness and all that. That's the work of the Holy Spirit. This theory is taught by most great divines of the church history, including Tertullian, Augustine, Apollinarius, Gregory of Nyssa, and so many others. Today, of course, by great theologians like Hodges and Shedd and Strong, and you take any of the modern theologians, they all teach them. Tertullian's view of traducianism is described by Neander as follows. It was his opinion that our first parent bore within them the undeveloped germ of all mankind, that the soul of the first man was the fountainhead of all human souls, and that all varieties of individual human nature are but different modifications of that one spiritual substance. Hence the whole nature became corrupted in the original father of the race when Adam sinned, and then sinfulness is propagated at the same time with the soul. Although his mode of apprehending the matter is connected with his sensuous habits of consumption, yet this by no means is a necessary condition. So what he meant basically was, in Adam, our first parents bore in them the undeveloped germ of all mankind, that the soul of the first man was the fountainhead of all human beings, all human souls, and that all varieties of individual human nature are but different modifications of the one spiritual substance. In another sense, Noah had 3 sons. Now all the human beings in the world are from those 3 sons. So Noah must have had, the capacity, the potential in him to supply these differences of all the human beings. Interestingly, I'm the father of 5 children, and all of them look different. All of them look different. We'd have no identical, we didn't have twins, so okay, so no identical brothers or identical sisters. You can say that they have some similarity, but they are different. And even their intellectual capacities are different, their physical dimensions are different, their, spiritual perceptions are different. They're all good people, spiritual people, but yet it's different because, if I had 1 lakh children, all 1 lakh children will be different. What that will say? That, in me, God has given the potential to, traduciate all these differences, So all the people in the world originated from same people. That's why we can, that's why an African can donate his blood to a white man, or a white man can donate his blood to an Indian, or to any, the heart or any organ can be transplanted. Nobody will say, well, the white heart cannot be put in a black man, when the skin is taken out, basically everything look like some differences in the skeleton, differences and all that, but essentially is the same, So it all came from the same person. Spiritual capacities also. Some theologians say Augustine, some say he was a creationist, others say he was a traducianist. The reason is, in some statements, he will make statement that God made my soul. In other statement, he will say that I got my person from my parents, So what was he? What did he mean? That sort of. That may be because these theories were not as strongly, established during that time, the 4th century. That's maybe the reason why. According to Tertullian, traducianism is the only view that could explain the propagation or the transference of the sin nature. That's where the crux of, if God creates a new spirit and only body comes from the parents, how does this person become a sinner? For the traducian is no problem, because the sin nature along with all the other natures are conveyed. But others have to say that either God creates a sinful soul, or after creation God commands that let this soul be a sinner. Somehow God has to do a misplay on it, So, there is a problem. So creationists cannot explain actually this big problem of the sin nature, though they try to say that, God in His sovereign will make it a sinner, but God is not responsible for it. Then how can you say that? Or that it's imputed, Well, to impute somebody's sin to me, You can put all your money in my account, but you cannot put all your debt in my account. I won't agree to that one, because some goodness you can communicate, but the evil you cannot communicate. So when it comes to that, they really have a problem. But both creationism and traditionism agree on the most difficult part of the question, namely, a kind of existence that is prior to the individual existence. Both will say that, a kind of existence was there. Yes, that they both agree. Either in parents or outside parents, it was there. Yes. The creationist concedes that human history does not start with the birth of the individual man. He does not attempt to explain original sin with no reference to Adam. He maintains that the body of man and the physical life are not ex nihilo creation, but derived from parents, that the physical nature was originated on the sixth day. In so doing, the creationist concedes existence in Adam of the body of this species. How could this be is a major problem which both the creationists and the traditionists have to explain. The problem others are asking, how could you be existing in Adam? How could you? How could you be existing in Adam? This is a question that everybody is asking. Only the traditionists can really give an acceptable answer. Now the difficulty often is a result of the improper understanding of the idea of substance. What is meant by substance? Substance is not a material but the nature. Divine substance is divine nature. God is not made of any material. So substance has nothing to do with material. When we say the divine substance, means divine nature. Substance is unextended and formless, yet a real entity. So in anthropology, the human substance or nature is without extension and figure, yet it is a certain amount of real being with definite and distinguishable properties. So we have to understand that, because in science and all, when you think about substance, how will you define a substance? Substance is something science never defines substance as the nature. Substance is something, matter related, yeah. So you say, what is the substance of gold? The substance of gold is a physical, nature. That's what. So when we say that the mental or psychical side of human nature, we do not mean any extended and visible something. So when we say that the substance of all human being was created in Adam, we do not imply that the tons of tangible or visible things were put in Adam. No. That's what people think that. But then it's very amazing that the creation is subject to that one. But then they say that the physical body comes from Adam, which has the more weight. See that? So if all the physical body of all the humanity was in Adam, then how much Adam weighed? So they don't escape any problem. Their system arises unless they understand that by substance is not meant a material thing, but it is the nature of the thing. The substance in this case is a spiritual, rational, immortal essence, similar to the unextended essence of God, in whose image it was created ex nihilo. When we read that God created man in his image or in his likeness, nobody think about a material something. Nobody think of a material something. Few people say that is, God, Father, Son and Holy Spirit is a Trinity, therefore God created man also, a Trinity, body, soul and spirit, but Bible does not teach that. So far as the physical and corporeal side of man is concerned, the notion of substance must be determined in the same manner. The rational soul, the immortal life, etc., occupies no space It is not divisible by any material instruments. It cannot be examined by any microscope. Hebrews 11:3, the things which are seen were not made of things which are seen, which do appear. See that? The things which are seen are not made of things which do appear. The visible body is constituted and built up by an invisible vitality. The substance of the body or the soul is not anything visible. The major problem, the practical as well as theoretical, is the question of the original sin. How we will handle it according to the two theories. So that is really the crux of the problem of creationism and traducianism, is the question of sin. It may be held simply as a fact that man is a sinner, any child is born a sinner. You can hold it simply as a fact without any attempt to explain it. Well, we just believe it. We cannot explain it. That's one way of handling it. Well, that may be the safest way of handling it because you don't expect any more question. But that is the least intelligent way of handling it because you are really, escaping the question. We simply would accept that man was created originally holy and that Adam sinned and that the Bible says all are sinners. We don't know how. So such people will say we accept Romans 5:12, without any explanation. We won't even try to explain it. Romans 5:18 is accepted by faith. 1 Corinthians 15:22 is accepted by faith. The only sufficient ground to accept this truth is that God said so. Therefore it settles. Well, that's a very safe way to say that. If you would say that for everything, then you will be fine. Because you have no question to ask anybody. The question why will not be or how will not be in your vocabulary because it's ruled out. The second way to handle this problem is the doctrine may be held as a revealed fact and an explanation is attempted by the theory of natural or substantial union with Adam. That's what second group. They say that okay, God revealed it. So it is in the Bible. It's stated in the Bible. And we try to attempt it by natural or substantial union with Adam, that we somewhere are associated with Adam and therefore we get it. In this case, Adam and his posterity existed together and sinned together as a unity. That's one view say that, okay? Adam and all the future children of the universe, they all existed together and they all sinned together. Therefore they all became sinners. There is no vicarious representation is assumed. Adam did not do it on behalf of anybody. God did not put Adam's sin on anybody. That we were all present in Adam and we all sinned. Here it is assumed posterity is present. All posterity present in Adam seminally participated in the act and therefore inherited the sin. There is no imputation of Adam's sin as posterity because the posterity participated in the sin. But Christ's righteousness is imputed because we were not present in Christ when he died. That could be done because it's a good thing, You cannot put somebody's sin on somebody without their consent. But you can always deposit $1 million in somebody's account even without their permission, though nobody will take you to the court saying that this man has deposited, unless the income tax goes beyond that amount. In the old time in Kerala, the Tahsildarmar, these Tahsildars used to do that. If they wanted to trouble somebody, they used to do that, they will, 1,000 acres of land they will register in somebody's name without. And then they will send a notice. The tax for the 1,000 acres is so much. And this is a barren land, there is no income. He does not know that even the land is in him. So for not paying this large amount, they will put him in the jail. But today no Saraswata will do that one because people will say thank you. They can sell just a half an acre and pay the tax. But in those days nobody will buy it because this is barren land, But God is not going to do that. God is not going to do that. So the second way of handling it is, okay, that's good way. Third, the doctrine may be held as a revealed fact of revelation and an explanation of it attempted by the theory of representative or forensic union with Adam. In this case, Adam as a distinct person, even separate from Eve, did the act of sinning as a representative of all humanity. He was the federal head of mankind, and therefore he acted on behalf of mankind. As a vicar and representative of mankind, Adam disobeyed God in Eden, and all mankind is assumed as sinned by Adam's sin. The sin of Adam is imputed to mankind because Adam was the representative of mankind. There's a big problem. For representation, you must choose your representative. You must authorize somebody to be your representative. And the thing that he did must come under the right category of your authorization. He cannot go beyond. So, when did humanity choose Adam as the representative? As far as we know, nobody chose Adam as representative. I didn't tell him, you go ahead and sin. No, did you? So, that will be unethical then. Yes. The fourth is, the doctrine may be held as a fact of revelation and an explanation of it is attempted by a combination of the natural with the representative union. This is the middle theory between creationism and traducianism. It combines both, but the problem is that, like all middle theories, it will contradict. That's all middle theory will contradict, because it will have one thing of that, the other thing of this. This and this won't agree ever. If the posterity were present, as natural union implies, then why should Adam represent them? Because they are there. And if they were absent, then who authorized him? If we were not there, then who gave him the permission to represent us? So, it doesn't answer anything. So, the theory that the doctrine could be explained only by our substantial union with Adam, that is, we were all present in Adam. Seminally, all humanity is presented in Adam. Just like the Levi was present in Adam, in Abraham, when Abraham gave tithe to Melchizedek. Seminally present. Levi was not born there when Abraham gave it. He didn't have an Isaac then. The future birth, but God says that Levi paid tithe to Melchizedek because he was present seminally in Adam. In Abraham. So the same way, we were seminally present in Adam when Adam sinned, so that we sinned. Adam did not sin on our behalf. We, along with Adam, sinned. Well, don't ask me what that apple tasted like. But that is a fact that God says that we were present in Adam, all humanity, because in Romans 5 says that, all have sinned in Adam. Yeah. So, I don't know what was the taste of that apple. I even don't know whether it was apple. Yes. Everybody assumes it was apple because apple is so beautiful. What is more beautiful than apple as a fruit? Yeah. These days some fruits come from China. I don't know what they call it. They look very funny and, but you won't feel like taking a bite on it. Because apple, everybody will. It's so nice. It's so nice. A fifth method is that of the seminally present means that if my son was present in me, there is only one way he can present in me is in my semen, right? Because no other part of me is transferred to my wife for the procreation of a son. So all his characters and everything comes from this one. In the ovum of the woman and the sperm of the man. So that's what it means, seminally present. A fifth method is that of the ancient semi-Pelagian and the modern Armenian. the doctrine of original sin is received as a truth of revelation, and an explanation is attempted by the theory of representative union. Adam acted as an individual for the individuals of his posterity. The latter are not guilty of Adam's sin, either in the sense of culpability or of obligation to punishment, but are exposed on account of it to certain non-penal evils. They call it the principally physical suffering and death. They even say that only as a bad example. So they will say no child is born with sin nature. God cannot punish anybody because Adam's sin. The guilt cannot be transferred. All that we get from Adam is our physical sicknesses and few other things, nothing more than that. So then they will say that child is born without sin, and child become a sinner only when that child is sin. The unity of Adam and his posterity in the commission of the first sin is of utmost importance in anthropology. Without it, it is impossible to maintain the justice of God in the punishment of inherited sin. For it is evident that an individual person cannot be different from the species to which he belongs. He cannot be holy if the species is unholy. No individual can rise above his species and exhibit a character and conduct radically different from species. Consequently, in order to establish the responsibility and guilt of the individual in respect of the original sin, a foothold must be found for him in the being and the agency of the race to which he belongs to. He must exist in and act with his species. This foothold is furnished in the biblical doctrine of a primary existence and a primary act of the common human nature in Adam, of which the secondary individual existence and the secondary individual character and acts are the manifestation. This is what St. Paul explains about the representation of the Adamic connection, so that in Adam all sinned. By one man's sin all have become sinned because they have sinned. Active voice. They have sinned. God takes every man a sinner, and if you ask, when did I sin, that you consider me a sinner? In Adam you sinned. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So there is no other way we could explain it. There are difficulties associated with all three theories of creation. However, the least difficulties are with traducianism. If the mystery of a complete existence in Adam of both body and spirit is accepted, then the difficulties connected with imputation of this first sin and the propagation of corruption are relieved. Tertullian says there is no doubt that by this theory all the difficulties seems to be removed by traducianism. No serious difficulties. The little difficulties are then, they are, whatever theology you say, there will be some difficulties. And sometimes it is not the difficulty of the theory, it is the difficulty of our intellect in understanding some of these things, I find many things hard to understand. I won't say the problem is with the Bible or the theory, I'll say the problem is with my little mind. This is, who said this is too wonderful for me, One of the psalmists or somebody said that, it's too wonderful for me. It's some things are too wonderful for us. You think about my existence in Adam and taking part in the, eating, and then God putting the punishment upon the whole posterity, and all that God said to Adam carries on, everything, even the punishment. The wages of sin is death. Even the little child who does no sin dies. What explanation you can say that a 3 months fetus dies? Who sinned? Somebody is born blind. Even the disciples ask the Lord, who sinned? So this question is always there. Well, the least problematic is I sinned, sir. I sinned. I don't have to blame anybody. Even Adam I don't have to blame. There was a time when I was very angry with Adam. Almost said the first thing I will ask that biddy is, why did you do it? Now I'm not angry with Adam because, I was there. I was there. I don't know whether I told Adam, hey, go ahead, eat it. I was there. If I was in Adam's place, I would have done exactly same thing. Nothing different. Because anyway, I did it. Yes. Now there are three principal support of traditionalism. That's where we begin today. The other is a recap. Yeah, we took an hour, little over an hour. Yeah, that will be good. Take a break.
Do you have any questions or